Good morning, Bryte Church. Welcome to another devotional. I wanted to ask you a question. What does Jesus call us to in life? Is it to be a Christian? Is it to do what a Christian should do? What is his call to us? What happens if we focus on being the most Christ-like Christian? What does that look like? It might look like a monk in a monastery, right? Not in a bad way, in a good way. A person who devotes their life to being a priest of their own life, of their body, of their mind. Perhaps Christ calls us to do what Christ did. So we become good people. Not just even good people, but great people, amazing people. People who make the world better than it's ever been, who right wrongs and who right injustices. James 2:14-17 says something very interesting, though. It says it like this: "What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him?" And in verse 17, "So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead." Work without faith is futile, and faith without works is dead. And Jesus is calling us, his teachings, they put us in a spot that makes us question, who is Jesus? Who is this Messiah? I wouldn't do that. If I were Jesus, I wouldn't do it that way. The teachings of Jesus, they put us into a spot where two opposites, two things that seem incompatible, are somehow molded and generated into one idea. But Jesus, we might say, I want to focus on being a Christian. I want to be the best Christian that I can. I want to study your word. I want to memorize your word. I want to know the nuances of what you have to say. I want the Bible to be a light to my life. I want to be enlightened by your word. I want to be all that you are. I want your word to be a lens, like a lens of truth, like a magical thing that I can point at the world and I can see clearly what is right and what is wrong. To be able to differentiate between tough decisions, much like Solomon could. Like, I want to be that person. And another comes in and he says, Jesus, I want to focus on doing what you did. You were God incarnate and you worked in this world. I want to feed the poor. I want to bring the lost to you. I want to clothe the naked. I want to shelter the homeless. I want to give the widow hope. I want to give the fatherless a father. I want to work to make the lives of those who are not as well off as me better. Somehow, some marginal way better. And what we get trapped in is an extreme. On one side or on the other. We feel like we have to choose between being and between doing. And oftentimes that inclination, it's just a natural component of our character. A person who is more cerebral in their knowledge, they want to know, they end up focusing more on being a Christian. The one who's a little bit more active, who's not into the book learning, who wants to get out in the world and change it, they tend towards the extreme of doing what Christ would do. And yet Christ confuses us. He says, I don't exist on either extreme. I exist in this middle. Because too much of one leads to a hypocritical orthodoxy, where, yes, you know everything that's right, but you don't act it out, as James says. You don't put it into practice. And this hypocritical orthodoxy, it is both powerless, yet it is ultimately dangerous to cast away people from Jesus. Too much of the other, too much of the doing leads us to a rigid orthopraxy. Orthopraxy is the word of right doing. And it leads us there. But it lacks credibility. It lacks a foundation for why those good things are good, in fact. Why is helping a widow a good thing in the grand scheme of things? Where is that source of good? Jesus came preaching not just one or the other. He came preaching an unexpected overlap of both. of orthodoxy and of orthopraxy, of being and of doing. And he said, exist at that middle. True discipleship of Jesus. What James was alluding to here is both being and doing. Not just being, not just doing. And in that tension between two things that seem in opposition to each other, faith exists. Faith thrives there. And Jesus confuses us and calls us, and he says, write down your Bible questions. Write down, why is it so bad to just do? Why is it so bad to just be? And in our walk with him as we grow, we learn that that is not where he existed, not what he practiced. Exist in the overlap of two completely different and seemingly incompatible worlds, because that is where Jesus is. God bless you and take care.